So in this video we are going to make the Sabyasachi inspired blouse. So the blouse on the third picture or the rightmost picture. So you remember the achal and the blouse piece we had? We are just going to use some patterns. I'm using mine from Tailor Nova, but you can use the printing blocks in my stories on Instagram. So first I have just folded my achal. So for blouse I'm just going to use the achal part. I'm just laying my pattern pieces on the blouse, on the achal, and then I'm just going to mark them. I always find it easy to mark first and then cut. If you're using a roller blade, I guess then you do not have to mark, you can directly cut, but I use scissors, so I always find it very easy to mark first and then cut. So yeah, just mark everything. Alright, so now that our marking is done, I'm just going to go ahead and cut all the pieces out. Again, I have used this pattern from Tailor Nova that I downloaded, and you can easily just go and use the pattern blocks that I have posted on Instagram, and you can find it in my highlights, the story highlights under blocks. So yeah, you just make those patterns, adjust it according to your measurement, and then you can just very easily use it to make this blouse. Okay, so after you have cut all the patterns, it should look something like this. Well, if you're using the pattern from the Instagram, it will look a little bit different, but you get the gist. So for facing, or like biasing is it called, I am just cutting these things out so that I can have like a clear line. So I'm just going to stitch this with a top stitch, and then I'm just going to fold it, so this will look like neat from the front. Yeah, so just like one top stitch, then roll it over, iron it, and then stitch again. So I'm going to do this for the front neck piece and also the back neck pieces. Next, let's move on to making the peplum and the sleeves. So I'm just cutting the blouse piece in two, because I just want to use this orange part for the peplum of the blouse, and the golden and the orange for the sleeves. I think that will look good. Alright, so now you have both the pieces separate. I'm just going to remove this borders, because I just want the orange part, the plain orange part, to make the peplum. I am just going to fold it. Okay, so let's just cut it first, because it'll be like a short peplum. So yeah, so just make it into two strips. This will give us like more flare, and I think I'll just do like a very quick picot, and this will just take care of the frayed edges. So now that we have picoted everything, now this step is optional, like picoing it before is optional. You just do whatever you feel comfortable. So we just fold it like this, and then we are going to use like the same kali technique that we used for the lehenga. So just measure your waist and do the calculation, the number of panels that you want, and then just cut it. Okay, spoiler alert, this was a fail. I did not end up using this because this was like way too short. So yeah, but I have some footage, so let's watch. So yeah, basically just doing the same thing that we did with the lehenga. If you have like more fabric, like a longer fabric lengthwise, I mean like width-wise, like below your waist, that'll be good. Yeah, but as you can see, this one is like pretty short, so it did not end up looking good. So I just discarded it, and I ended up not using it. So after you cut the pieces, you get like two sets of trapezoids, and then like just like we did in the lehenga video, we are just going to attach them all together. Yeah, this was like way too short. Like below the waist it was too short. The flare was so much that I loved it, but again it was just like too short. So but fortunately I had like two panels left from the lehenga, because we added an extra set of panels, so I had to remove these two panels to adjust the width in the lehenga. So I'm just going to use it here to create that peplum. I'm just trying to fold it in half, because just measure the length, like from the waist down, how long you want your blouse to, or the peplum to be. So I just measured that, and then I'm just going to cut it. So I'm pretty happy with how much fabric it turned out to be. Next I'm just going to create some knife pleats, and then we are just going to attach this to the waist of the blouse. And yeah. So next let's move on to the sleeves part of the blouse. I'm just cutting this out just to have some consistency between the red borders of the two sleeves. So I'm just cutting it in half because we need two sleeves. Alright, so this measurement I do just to understand that we have at least the whole length of the armhole. Next I'm just going to cut like a free wave. This is not the correct method, but I just like to do it freehand. Now this is the measurement of your upper arm, so just divide it by 2 because we have folded it, and we are just going to attach this point to the point of the armhole. Alright, so we are just going to cut it and then just stitch it. So as you can see, we have two pretty sleeves. So let's just stitch it and see how it turns out. Okay, it didn't turn out good. Alright, so the first stitch I told you did not work, so I had to tighten it. So when you wear it, you have to measure it and tighten it accordingly. So one trick that I use to stitch it to the blouse is I invert the blouse, so inside out, and then I just attach the sleeves from the outside. So yeah, that works for me. So you just have to attach it, and last but not the least, just attach the peplum to the waist.